I mean, the thing that head and tails my mental health career, I suppose, was my birthday. So 2012, we shot man. On 2013 on my birthday, we found out, well, I found out only because I rang stupidly, you know, Murphy's Law. Yeah. You know, when you're telling yourself you shouldn't ring because there's a reason you shouldn't ring, and then you ring up to the studio and they say, oh yeah, on your birthday, and you find out your birthday present, your film has been stopped and you're no longer you have a career that's gone, no more. So that was my birthday present. Then you realise that there's, you know, all kinds of stuff that's owing, and now you have no career and you're going to be run out of money real quick. Then you get hit with a taxation bill because the accounts department got the account numbers wrong, and suddenly you owe the taxation department another $36,000, and that now goes out of your account, and now you have very little left, if anything. So now you start clambering and damage controls. And my birthday's in January, so what do? Everything's shut. You know, I have a background in construction, but everything's shut. So, you know, suddenly going, what do I do? You know, we're now going to be out of money soon, and we've got a home to pay off, and we've got, you know, and no career. And then finding out in 2 weeks I got a gig as a labourer at Barangaroo at a construction site, and not just as a labourer. They had me, and the construction site was called The Hole. I don't know if you're ever at Barangaroo. The actual construction site was called The Hole. I was in the hole in the hole. They had me at the bottom of a 14-metre lift shaft with the shovel, scraping dried mud off sheet pile walls 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And to go from pro fight choreographer, weapons specialist, one of the directors of the Happy Feet films, all that stuff, Mad Max, to 2 weeks there. On my, you know, that was my birthday. Within 2 weeks, that was a huge mental hit. And then after going through the lowest points ever, and then on my birthday that next year, 2014, I went to work in probably the worst state. I didn't honestly know if I was coming home or not. I didn't know. And I walked into work late, and a mate of mine walked past me and jumped off the 14th floor of Barangaroo and landed by our feet. And his death was an awakening, strangely enough. You know, the loss of him got me to speak for the first time. I never told anyone where I was. And I got all the workers together in this room and got up and said, no guys, this is where it fucking stops. You know, we think we're tough, we're not tough until we can put a hand up and say I need help. You know, the amount of guys that were struggling there was incredible, and they didn't know that I was either. I'd never told anybody. And so you're becoming more isolated, more depressed and this and that, and become more dangerous. And that one speech I gave, the very first time I'd ever spoken, very first time I'd spoken about anything. And that one speech, I said, if anyone else is feeling the same way, you come and see me and I'll take you to help myself. And 6 guys came up, said, we're thinking of killing ourselves like now. And we walked them to help, and they're still alive. And I called Mates in Construction when the event happened when Benny took his life. And I said, you guys are going to have to get here fast because we need help. And they were there when I spoke, and they said, we'd love you to speak at the National Convention. I went, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. That was my instigation to speaking, and that's where I started. National Mental Health Conference, that's online. There was an 18-minute speech that I was making up on the fly. I made that speech up as I got up. Didn't have anything prepared, I just got up and spoke, yeah. And I had a letter, but one thing I did do, I got a letter from a friend of mine who was a FIFO worker in WA, and he'd seen lots of suicides. And I said, write me a letter. I said, write me everything that's fucking wrong with your industry. And he wrote this 3-page letter it's just full of hate, and he's like, this and this and this needs to change. And I read it out after. I said, this is what a mate of mine put up. So this guy that's been this top worker, gone up to the top of the corporate ladder, who can tell you everything that's wrong. And I got up there and I told him why and how it needed to change. And it floored the audience, and it changed things. You know, it changed because they were changing swing times, like they're away from 3 to 4 weeks, and now you don't fit into your family, you become a hindrance, and, you know, hotbedding it so you don't have your own room, you've got no photos, and so it just went from worse to worse. And we said, this needs to change because you're fucking killing people, you know. And I told them that, and that got me started. And 2 weeks later, I got my first keynote speech out of the blue from doing a speaker's course. I thought I better go learn how to do this. And out of that, I was so pissed off with the speaker's course, it was so badly run. And I complained so much during the day. This guy sitting there was upset too. And I said, he goes, what do you do? I said, I want to be a speaker. He goes, do you want to come speak at my business? I mean, yeah, what the fuck, let's do it. He goes, how much do you charge them? I'd only heard them mention during the day, it's $3,500 for a speech. I said, and I like to speak on leadership. If I never had to speak on mental health, I wouldn't. Because I wish it didn't exist. I wish this issue of suicide didn't exist, because I've been through 13 now. So, you know, and if I'd love to talk on leadership, I like to help people lead, because I think mental health and leadership go hand in hand. And I think people miss the boat on that one. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing.
Caring for other people, isn't it?
That's all it is. That's all leadership is. But it is the truth is that people think leadership and management and mental health aren't connected, and they're all the same thing. Because if you don't, and so often the wrong people are in the place of leadership. You know, there are people that don't give a shit except about themselves. It's the old three-finger deal. What can you do for me? How can you improve my bank balance, my pay, my this, my that? I don't give a shit about you. You're 15 on my list. And when it should be the other way around. Like I know when I was, and I've run massive teams, you know, 1,000 people on Happy Feet 1, about 850 on the second Penguin film, and on Mad Max I had 350 stunt guys, plus knew everybody else. But I knew everybody else inherently. I could tell you everything about them, kids' names, family, what they did, how they were going with their lives, because you know what, I gave a rat's. And at the end of the day, I knew when they were struggling, because I took enough time out of my day to listen and look and understand, to go, maybe you need a day off and we'll get back, we'll help you with this, help you with that, you know, and just that was missing from so many people. I see it in every business. They value, they think turnaround and you know, profits and this are the most, and it's not the most important thing. Your people are. And if you don't go to the wall for them, and it's military all the way, if you don't go to the wall for them, they won't go to the wall for you. They'll just give you the bare minimum just to keep their job. You know, and I think, and if you're a bad manager and you treat your people like crap and you talk down to them and it's my way or the highway and all that stuff, you shouldn't be there. And because that stuff, when you treat someone badly at work, because we spend so much time there, you end up taking that stuff home. You're unhappy at home, your kids see it, your wife sees it, they feel it. And I know, I was there myself. When I was at Barangaroo, I was at the worst spot possible. And you're trying to keep your family safe from what you're going through. And we think that's a good move as guys, and I'll tough it out, I'll find a solution. And the more you go inside your headspace, the harder it becomes, because this pressure is just pushing you down. And you get trapped and you can't find a way out, and the only way out you can figure of is to knock yourself off. And the reality of it, you know, my wife knew I was struggling but didn't know how badly. And the worst part of that is when she actually did reach out to some friends for help, they said, he's a tough guy, he'll be okay. And because people see the physicality and they don't see what goes on. And, you know, it's above the neck. It's different. We're all the same above the neck. You know, you can have the biggest body in the world and be the softest person above the neck. And, you know, and when you struggle alone in silence. You know, we, as I said to someone once, we are the wildebeest. You know, we pretend to hide the injuries so the lion doesn't know we're crook, you know. And that's what we are. We hide it away when we shouldn't. We are communal animals. We naturally bond and bind together. But when we go through trouble, we've made it feel bad now, so we isolate ourselves out because we aren't one of the herd anymore. And we really need to be together on stuff, because that builds community.
Yeah, what to me it was the other way. Because it was explained to me by a, what's the name? It's like a something anthropologist about people. And they said that anxiety is a natural response to being isolated. Being away from the tribe is dangerous, get back to the tribes. But what do? We don't go back, we go the other way.
That's right.
And it just snowballs.
Yeah, and a lot of the time we self-ostracise. You know, we keep telling ourselves we're different, we're struggling. And here's the biggest thing. When people are suffering and going through really shitty times, and I've seen this a lot, especially the amount of speaking I've done these days, is we think it's just us. Now, this was an interesting one. In Colorado just recently when I spoke there were thousands and thousands of people in the audience. I said, close your eyes to the whole audience. And I said, raise your hand if you've ever felt times where you didn't want to get up in the morning, you've gone through severe depression, you felt isolated, alone, times you just couldn't go on, you didn't think you had anything left, or if you've been touched by suicide, raise your hands. I didn't realise 99% of the audience was going to put their hand up. Like I've never seen it that high. It's always been 90, 80, nearly every hand went up, and it floored me. And I said, open your eyes and look around. I said, you're never alone. Everybody's going through something at some point in time, or has gone through something. And at the end of the day, you can turn to the person next to you and go, man, life's crap. I'm having a hard time. And they'll go, man, I get you, you know. But most people don't get given the chance because they keep it away and go, hey, I'm good today, you know, when they're not. And that stuff has to change. I mean, for us to come together, I mean, the trouble is now I hate the word success. I think it's a tainted word because it's been tied to money. So every time I hear someone go, I'm successful, and they go, what, because you've got an Aston Martin and you've got a 6-bedroom home in a Turramurra? No, that's not success. I know guys like that have killed themselves. You know, I've worked with Robin Williams. I've worked with all these different people that have been to the top and the bottom. And just because you're successful money-wise doesn't mean you're successful in your life. So I always talk about people going for fulfillment. What makes you feel happy? What makes you smile when you wake up? Like if you had a chance, and when I speak to people about life, I go, this is not work-related. If you could get up tomorrow and do anything, what would it be? And they go, work? No. What would it be? And then that's what you make your income. Come from that somehow. Work towards becoming that person, because that will bring you joy. And then you never really work again, you know? And not that there's not going to be struggles. I know that building this martial arts school, you know, this was our last 20 grand we had in the bank. I built this because I knew that kids needed it more. And I figure if I can give, then life's rich. You know, to me, that's, if I can make sure I'm a good dad to my kids, a good husband to my wife, and I've got great students and community around me that I've helped build. Because I've always figured that if you can get them while they're young and train them up the right way, you're not trying to fix broken adults. You know, and also they won't steal your car when they're 25. And because you've educated them that values, ethics, all that stuff matters, and that they can turn to each other. This whole school is a team, and they understand that, but there is an I in team. People say there's no I. I talk about it in speeches. There's T-E-A-M, and inside the A, the negative space, there's the I, which, I always say there is an I in team, but it's always hidden inside the A hole. That's usually the management. But the individual does matter. So even though you have a team, they're a team of individuals. And so every one of these students, I have to know that what I say to them, what might build you up as a person, if I go, Paul, you know what, you're freaking lazy today, step it up, you can do more. You might inspire the hell out of them, you might push out now. Where if I say that to this other person, it'll crush them. So you have to inherently know the people and how to talk to that person. So there is an I in team because they're a team of individuals. And that matters. The way you word things matters. The way you structure every sentence matters. You can load words up to really hurt people. And it's a domino effect down the line. And it doesn't take long to spiral someone downward into depression, especially if they're going to a work environment every day where they hate it, or they hate the people. There's no love there. I mean, you can be digging out crap out of a toilet for a living and enjoy it because you're with good people. And go, yeah, we'll deal with this. Oh, we're doing the shit job again, and you make it fun because you find a way. Being in the trenches in war. My grandfather got one of the highest military medals in the war for bravery and this and that. Became back a shell of a man, but did it for his mates. He went into no man's land, finding, holding telegraph wires and that together to keep communications going during the war, and he did it because of his friends. Because if he didn't do that, they'd get killed. And you've got to build an environment like that where people are willing to go to that level. And what would you do for your mate, the person beside you? Because if it's just about you, it doesn't take long for something to get bigger than you that's more powerful, it crushes you. And I think we have to start looking to community again and to, and as you were saying before, be happy in ourselves. And how do we do that? Because we've put ourselves in a pretty tight corner, like in a round 12 of a boxing ring, and you're trapped and Tyson's hitting you. Because we've trapped ourselves in a situation where everyone's got massive mortgages. We're fortunate we don't have a huge mortgage. However, I look at Sydney now. We moved out of Sydney for a reason. And I have friends that have $1.4 million home loans. How do you pay that off? So you go to work all day, your wife goes to work all day, your kids go to daycare all day, a house is vacant, so you're working all these jobs, astronomical hours to pay for a home you're never in, one you can't really afford, to drive cars that you lease because you can't afford them either, and all you're doing is paying, and there's no happiness there. That's all gone because we've put ourselves in that predicament of keeping up with the Joneses. Well, the Joneses are tired. We've got to stop worrying about what everyone else is doing and thinking about us, and worry about what we're doing for us. Because happiness for us was moving from the Northern Beaches and going, well, I'm going to take a time out for my family, spend time with my kids, spend time with my wife, get back to living again. And yes, I'm still working to build a this speaking company, all that stuff, so I can help change the world. And for me, I'll still travel internationally and speak for free sometimes, because you know why? If I know that they need it, I'll do it. As long as they can cover an airfare, I'll go and do that completely free of charge, because you know what? The message matters. And every time I've spoken for a major corporation, I've spoken for Lego, Henry Schein, Halas, Dow Jones, all these companies, the Dow Corporation, Dow Chemicals, whoever, every time I speak, I talk about mental health during my speech. And I give them what takes you into it, an issue of depression and feeling down, and how quickly it can cascade. And I don't believe people kill themselves because of one bad hit. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It just hits you so fast. It's like we talk about martial arts. You get someone in a really hard joint lock. You do it slowly, what happens? They get more angry and they get more powerful and stronger, and the next thing they're nailing you. You do it fast, there's a natural cut-off and your body drops. I think it's the same way with life. If too many physical, mental, emotional hits take us too fast, it's just a natural cut-off. You go, what the hell's the point of this shit? I'm out of here. And you knock yourself off. So you have to, once you understand that, and I think kids need to be taught this stuff too, because forewarned is forearmed. I think one of the greatest issues we've got with our kids in the future is no one's taught them money management. I had troubles with it. No one taught me. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I blew a heap of debt when I was a kid, which I didn't have to do, which put huge stress on me and on people around me, I don't imagine. But it's if people can be taught how to manage money, that's one big stress they don't have to worry about because they've got it under control. Teach them what debt is, how to compound money, how to make things grow, how to build that stuff so they've got a safe net for the future. Because so many people are in this massive cycle of, pay, and nothing's getting put away. We need to educate kids on caring, on communication. I think anti-bullying is bullshit because it's always going to be there. I've been asked 100 times to talk on anti-bullying. I just think it's crap because you're never going to stop bullying. It's going to be in the environment somewhere in your life, and if you don't know how to deal with it, which is the whole reason for this martial arts school, so the kids can stand tall and go, you know what, no, don't. Find their voice, find their strength, and stand up and go, no, I won't follow you. I won't do what you say. I'm going to do what this is, and don't touch me. So they've got the strength to do that. Because anti-bullying just makes you a wimp, to be honest with you. and a victim. And I think too much of the mental health stuff now has become the victim mentality. Or a thing that really, and you might not be able to use, that really pisses me off now, is that all these people that get something happen to them, who've done something unethical or unethical, like certain cricketers and bits and pieces, suddenly get on the depression bandwagon. They go out and spruik at it's like, no, you're just upset because you got caught. You weren't going through anything before this. You were riding high and happy, but you got sprung, and now this is your way out. It's become a cop-out for a lot of people, or it's become a money-making machine for some people, or a bandwagon lots of people are getting on right now, and that really upsets me, because I know what it feels like to go through that bottom end of life. I know how much it sucks. I've been there to identify bodies. I've been there to sit with families whose partners are not home, who are never going to come home, and they don't know that. They're trying to go, I think he's going to come back. Yeah. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think he's going to. So let's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Because I think this is going to be a shitty situation coming in, and you better be ready for it. 99% of the time I'm right, unfortunately. I've been there to help police search for people. I've seen way too much stuff. I've lost people from my family. I've lost a lot of people to suicide. And I think the mental health issue in this country is huge, and it's getting huge, bigger at a rapid rate. And it's going to be a pandemic if we don't watch it, because it happens globally. It's not just here, it's everywhere, but the numbers here are escalating. We lost nearly 3,300 plus people here last year. America lost 47 something thousand. And per capita basis, we're unfortunately winning, and we think, and it's like the English and the Irish, they don't want to talk about stuff. They're big and brave and tough, but sometimes you got to. And I think if we come together as a community and actually voice up and go, you know what, guys, this is an issue, but this is a safe place where you will not be judged if you come forward. People don't come forward in a work environment because they know they're going to get the arse. People don't come forward in the military because they know they're going to get put on the list. And once you're on that list, you're flicking out the back door at 10% of your wage and you never want to be seen again. Bye-bye, we don't want you. People suffer with stuff, but they don't talk because they're afraid of the ramifications. And until you can set up an environment where people can go, you know what, I am having a bit of a struggle, and you put steps in place to help them, then we're screwed. We're going to keep getting worse numbers. And so I like to teach people there is a way out of this. And I know because I've come out of this, and I did this on my own. It was a tough call. I didn't tell anyone I did it, but I had to fight. And had I not had all my experiences growing up in Housing Commission, as a martial artist, as a bodybuilder, and fighting my way through everything I've ever done, I would have given up a lot sooner. And had Benny not taken his life on my birthday, I don't know what the outcome would have been. However, here we are. And I believe that if we come together on this truthfully as people, as a community, even people you don't know, you don't have to know them. My wife does these amazing things now where we'll be walking through the city and she just won't be there. And she's seen someone sitting on the side of the road who's looking upset, and she'll be over there talking to them. And that simple hand on the shoulder. I talked about it, I think in 2018 when I was speaking in Chicago. I said, this 3-finger needs to open up and become a hand to wrap around a shoulder to help someone up. All these things that we don't do now because we're too busy about funneling our own deal, We need to start opening up. And what happens as a byproduct of this, if you actually do care about people, other good things happen to you in some other way, shape or form. It won't be financially necessarily, you never know, and you don't know where it's going to come from, but someone else will help you back. And it'll happen in the strangest of ways. And we have to understand that, people inherently want to be good and want to help. However, the situations we've got ourselves into now and the way a lot of businesses run themselves is wrong. And my opening speech, and it was an off-the-cuff thing I did in Florida last year somewhere, and I got up to all the heads of Visa Card, Toyota, and I said, you know what, you guys haven't got a fucking clue how to lead people. I didn't realize they had someone doing teletext as well for the deaf people, and that came up on the screen. I'm like, this is interesting. So I started playing with it. But that was my opening statement. And I said, I'll tell you why. I said, because there's ways of leading people. I talk about the things I instigated on Happy Feet, which is foot and phone. No blame game, compartmentalized thinking, all these things people do where they sit in their little thing and they treat it like Gollum in the ring. That's my precious, instead of going, you know what, this is our project. This is my piece of the project, but this is still community. Once it leaves my hand, I still have ownership of that all the way out the door into the client's hands. I keep touch with it all the way through. If something goes wrong with it when I receive it, I go upstream and I go and talk to the person. I don't shoot an email. I banned email. It had to be foot and phone. Get off your bum and go walk to the desk. And if they weren't at the desk, find out where they are and give them a call. Everyone's got a cell reportable. If they weren't there, put a sticky note on their computer. Say, there's an email waiting for you, or call me, please. Because the first thing they'll see is the sticky note. But that's it. You make that the form of communication and form posses. Don't blame people. Go upstream and find where it came from. Simple stuff. I used to wait in the lunch line. We'd lunch every Thursdays on Happy Feet 1. I'd stand in the lunch line and I would just listen. I'd listen to problem. People piss and moan at lunchtime. It's awesome. Because it's great. They don't think management's there. And I never treated myself as a boss. Even though I was like one of the head guys in the film, I never treated myself as a boss. No one was allowed to call me the boss or any of that crap. It was just Greg. And I would stand in the lunch line. I would hear people go, oh, lighting's having struggles. We don't get this thing done. It's going to be 80 shots held up. And I'd just walk out of the line and go back and I'd ring George and say, listen, we've got a problem with lighting. I need 4 tech guys to come down there. I'll meet them there in 20 minutes. And these guys would get back and say, we got back. The problem, it was gone. It was fixed. It was awesome. It was just taken care of. And no one knew how or why. No glory. It wasn't about any of that stuff about bravado, how good I was for doing it. It's just, no, just fix it. Make the film work. Make the project work. Help people, you know. And that's what made it come together. All those things it's always about them. My team knew they came first. You know, that's why we had all these little shirts. They knocked them up. I didn't do it. They had all these shirts made with South Park characters or superheroes, but all of us were together as a team. And we had the only true team on the whole film, to the point that people wanted to leave their teams and come and work for ours because they knew that we understood. You know, we had so much fun that every one of them would now leave wherever they are in the world now, different countries working at Pixar and Weta Digital, who would, if I said I'm doing a film tomorrow, they'd leave and they'd fly back in and work with us because we did it together. And that's the unification that goes forever. And people have lost that in business. And I think we're losing it at school. We're losing it everywhere. And I think we need to get that back.
If you were, let's say that there's an individual that's at ground zero, like where you were at the bottom of that pit, what's the first step? The
first step in identifying it, or first step in helping them?
Just think that you're in your own head, right? You're there right now, right? What's my first thing to do? Then what's going to be my second thing?
Okay, so where are they? Like, clear up. Like, so this is someone who's suffering, or someone who's on the edge of like, I'm going to end this.
Yeah, probably someone that really, because to me, like, I don't know if did you ever see my video that I did about the suicide?
Yes.
That was for real. That was all, I just all got taken over. But it was almost a joyful thing. It was like, this can stop. But I always thought, no, I'm not going to get to that point. But somebody is at that point, whether it's through desperation or with me, it was like maybe it was a relief thing. But you're right there at that point. Yeah. So
let's backtrack a step. Right. Let's backtrack a step or two. Firstly, you've got to know the signs. And I talked about this recently. Is that if you don't know what to look for, you're freaking blind. You might as well be Helen Keller. You can't see, you know. And someone could be sitting next to you who looks as happy as Larry, who's about to kill himself, and you won't know it. Because it's happened. I could look down the gun barrel of that camera and say, you've been there. People you've known have taken their lives because of this. And you don't know. You go, wow, he was so happy. Yeah, he was happy. You know why? Because he made a decision to end his life. So the pressure is gone, and now they're happy. So you've got to look for the signs before this. This is where caring comes into it. See, people walk around their own little freaking shells now. Everyone's got their iPods in their ears and that crap. No one associates and talks anymore. And it's become a huge dilemma because you go to the gym now. In the old days, we were putting crap on each other. We were knocking around, having a bit of fun, having a laugh, telling jokes. That's gone. You walk in the gymnasium now or anywhere and everyone's got they're all isolated, just, watching the screen. We're losing one of the greatest things we have. We've spent how many thousands and thousands of years developing language, which we now may as well forget because no one talks anymore. One of the greatest assets we have is our form of communication, and we don't do it anymore. We're too busy doing this, and it's nuts. And so we have to get back to that. So if we don't communicate before this point, it gets to that point real quick, and you won't even know it. So if you're communicating with someone, and you start going, gee, Charlie's a little bit funny, so a bit standoffish. And if that continues on for a couple of months, maybe you want to walk up and say, hey, Charlie, how are things going? Like, everything okay at home? This is where the gut instinct comes in at this point right now. Because if he says, he's smoking 18 cigarettes, yeah, I'm good. You know in your gut he's not good. Ask him again. This is where the questioning does matter. And then say, man, are you really having struggles? And this is the wording that matters. 3 words that matter most. Us, we, together. Because what happens when you're struggling through a shitty situation? You pull out of it and you deal with it on your own. You're isolated. We're better in numbers than we are on our own. So mate, together we'll get through this. I'll help you. We'll do this. So together we will do this. It'll be us. You start building a team. And when you build a team, you've got power. Now you've got an ally. You've got someone who can confide. He goes, man, I understand how you feel. I know this situation. I've been divorced, or I've been through this, I've been through that, which I haven't been divorced. But, you can tell them the situations you've been through, which you can connect with them. And say, man, I get it. I know you're having a hard time. Or I've noticed you've been really, your little physical changes that happen in people, especially in a physical sight. Okay, their posture becomes more slumped. They become disheveled. They don't shave so much. Their hair's never done. They just look stuffed. They come in late. They have more sick days. All these little signs that lead up to this one moment at the end where it goes, geez, I didn't expect it was going to happen. They say, yeah, for 6 months he was looking like that. I can tell you, my friend's husband that did it, just over a year ago now. She goes, there were no signs. And I went, these are the signs. Went through and she goes, he showed me, they were every one of them. Every one of them was being displayed. I said, but you didn't know what to look for, did you? If you'd known, you would have known. You could have called me, I would have come down. I mean, I got the phone call saying he's missing. And I just got home from the Northern Beaches. Guess what I did as a person who gives a shit? I drove back to the Northern Beaches and I scoured North Head looking for him. Because that's the last we had an icon on his phone, like a triangulation of his phone with the police. And we searched North Head all night. And couldn't find him, but the next day, unfortunately, we did. But people go, I didn't see this. The signs are so obvious. But if you don't know what to look for, it might as well be braille to a guy with sight. You don't know what to feel. So if someone shows signs of pulling away from people, if they're suffering on their own, you can tell because they just don't talk so much. They become isolated, withdrawn. They don't care. They get a bit more hostile. In a work environment, it's dangerous because suddenly if they're operating a 50-ton excavator, you're not thinking about anything around you, so you can might wipe someone else out. I've been in those situations where guys have had depression who have been operating a 30-tonner. Around they go, bang, someone gets cleaned up. And then your life's changed, his life's changed forever. So all that stuff matters, but it's all obvious signs. There's nothing hidden about it. If you know what to look for, it's obvious.
And how dangerous is it when you see somebody like all of a sudden, he's snapped
It's
out?
really dangerous. It means that last part of, and I truly believe that last part of getting to the point of a suicide is really fast. I call it the vortex of negativity. I think you go down this vortex, it's like this, and it suddenly becomes, down the sinkhole, whoosh, gets that really fast bit at the end. And I think you get around the edges, the things go wrong. Maybe you've worked too many long hours, you've got a lot of debts, a lot of gambling debts, maybe you drink too much, and all this has a ramification on your home life. Your wife leaves you, suddenly the bills pay up, you start losing homes, and then you turn up late for work, or you're drunk at work now because you're unhappy, next thing you lose your job, now you've got no money to pay the debts, and bang, you're gone. And it happens, but that last little moment, I remember as a kid, man, we caught up with a friend of ours in the morning, and 4 hours later he was dead. Happy as Larry. We were 16, we didn't know. We didn't have a clue, And I remember my friend went into his house, his mother was bashing out on the table, and and I was watching his father clean parts off him off the roof, and that's tragic because he was a great guy with so much talent and potential, and we just watched that go, And all the reasons I speak on suicide prevention are for these people that didn't have a voice, And I know, and you know how it feels to get to that point in your life where you go, fuck this, I'm out. The reason I fought was for my kids. I was sitting there on the bed on my birthday in 2014 and I'm looking at my kids as they slept going, am I coming back today or not? I don't know. And I'm still struggling to fight this thing because I don't quit. I hate quitting on anything. And I'm looking at him and my little boy just opened his eyes and just looked up, and Mason was like 4 years of age or 5 years of age then, and he just looked up and just said, love you, Daddy. And I snapped and went, what am I doing? I've got to fight for these kids. I've got to fight for this family, this life. And there's more to this. I've got to get, and I went out the door to work going, I'm going to fight back. I don't know how. And for some ungodly reason, I was at the bottom of that lift shaft, scraping mud off the wall that day, and in the morning, and I went up to get changed, and Benny walked past me and took his life instead, and that was a changing moment in my life because I got to help other people. Unfortunately, we didn't get to help Benny, but it was the moment at that point in time when I first spoke to those guys. I went, you know what? I'm going to become a speaker. I didn't have a clue how to speak. I didn't have a clue how to do any of this, but I thought, you know what? And I've never done anything the right way. I got into film with no experience. I had never owned a camera, a computer, nothing. And I went, I'm going to be a filmmaker, and I'd been offered the family business. My dad had a joinery factory, the free of charge was going to get the whole business. Said, you know what, sell it, I'm going to go make movies. He goes, how? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to make it work. It took 15 years. 15 years of going via Hong Kong, Australia, any way I could. I got told no here for 3 years and just kept coming back until something worked. I'm one of those big dumb animals that just keeps banging into things until I find out the way in or out, like a fly does, But eventually I got there because I don't give up. And I think sometimes life's a war of attrition against yourself, and you just got to be more disciplined than anyone else is. Because I get up in the bed every morning, and there's two people to fight with. You got the I go get 'em you, and you got the lazy you, and everyone knows that. You can sit up and you can go, oh, it's too early, go back to bed, or you can go, let's go, and you got to win that fight every day. Some days you're going to struggle, some days you might lose, but you got to try and win that fight every day where you get up and go, let's go do this.